So this is a review for Buddy of the Legion, released in 1935. It's the 96th in the series, and it's directed by Ben Hardaway. As you can probably see from the footage, there's no real restoration available, although a film print was made available, which I'm using here. I'm actually not sure where this one comes from, but hey, happy it even exists, given that this will probably not be restored. But anyway, in case you haven't seen this one, chances are you probably haven't, given that it's a very obscure cartoon. There are other avenues to find this one anyway if you really need to see it, but all you need to know is that Buddy needs a job. He apparently gets one. He daydreams about being in the Foreign Legion for some reason, showing how imaginative Buddy really is, and then he loses the job, so not really much to it. First up, you're going to see is a re-edit of the original commentary I did before I had to take that down due to copyright on YouTube. That's why you won't see this short on YouTube, as it's not in the public domain. After that, you'll hear some new thoughts from me as well. Without further ado, try and enjoy. It's not the best short, but hey, we gotta do them all. So here's the commentary. So here we have Buddy. He's all happy to start a new job, and this part's pretty weird. Just, how he gets the job. I mean, it's certainly not the way I would be able to get a job today. Just boy wanted. Okay, well, I guess it was a simpler time. Just, yep, you're hired, get busy. Okay, sure. So this particular cartoon is sort of reminiscent of the two Bosco shorts where Bosco would either fall asleep and have a dream or tell a story, and he would just be in a different place. I think Bosco's Nightmare and Bosco the Musketeer. Given that these Buddy shorts are amongst the least popular of the Looney Tunes, chances are you probably haven't seen this, so you'd be surprised about how some of the animation is pretty it's got like a hint of wildness, let's put it that way. Now this story is pretty weird, but I mean, clearly this is a town run by women having men as slaves. I do like how this, I'm assuming it's the leader, lures all these men in. It's just crazy what happens. So we got the tomb, and you just got this beautiful woman just there. Okay, sure, why not? And it's kind of like the Pied Piper, really, luring the rats and getting rid of them. Boom. Now you gotta love that gag. You can't hit them out with glasses. Then there it is. You're gonna have, and as soon as you see the shaking, you just know it's gonna dissolve into the lady coming back. But yeah, this is how they used to fire people, I suppose, just given the literal boot. So those are my original thoughts. So looking back, it's yet another French Foreign Legion short, and I think I've now done them all. I've redone the Bosco one, which is Bo Bosco. There's two Porky Pig shorts where he's in the Legion, and they're not connected whatsoever, of course, but it is what it is, like Bo Porky and Alibaba Bound, and Little Bo Pepe. So I'm pretty sure I've covered them all. I don't think there's any more, but anyway, I go into the whole French Foreign Legion thing in the other reviews a little bit more in depth, but just a very brief overview in case you've encountered this review out of every other review I've done. But anyway, this is going to be someone's first review, I guess. So the French Foreign Legion is a foreign legion, as the name suggests, where people, they don't have to be French, they would join up. And in the pop culture of the time, a lot of it is, hey, I've lost my love back home and I'm trying to get away from it all, and they join the French Foreign Legion. And there was plenty of books and radio programs and, of course, movies done on this topic, and a lot of comedic teams have dabbled as well, including Laurel and Hardy. Yeah, it was a big deal back then, but these days it's almost unheard of. But anyway, that's what it is, but definitely check out the other reviews for further details. So let's take a look at this short once again for the bits that I missed or want to elaborate further. In the beginning, we see the title card saying, animated by Bob Clampett and Chuck Jones, and it's really fascinating to see at this point, 1935, okay, this was made in 34, but still released in 35, you got Ben Hardaway directing, of course, and you got Bob Clampett, Chuck Jones, both of which end up directing some of the most amazing cartoons of all time, something that Ben Hardaway never achieved. Even if you like his stuff, which I'm very indifferent to, I'm not the biggest fan of his work, but even if you like his stuff, you can't deny that he never achieved the same level as Bob Clampett, Chuck Jones, Tex Avery, and Frank Tashlin, and the other directors. But what's interesting is how it also ties together that Ben Hardaway was known as Bugs Hardaway, and that was apparently the name that inspired Bugs Bunny, and Clampett and Jones directed some of the greatest Bugs Bunny shorts of all time. And on top of that, Ben Hardaway would even direct a few prototype Bugs Bunny shorts before the whole thing was solidified in the now classic Tex Avery short A Wild Hair. So it's a really interesting bit of history in this one title card, how it's all connected, but there we are. And yes, it's definitely more interesting than the short itself that we're about to see. It's interesting how it starts off. So we've got Buddy wandering around. Apparently he's without a job. He just looks at the signs like, okay. He just takes that sign, apparently now not allowing anyone else to apply for this job that's now available. So does that make him a bit of a prick? I don't know. But no, this is just to drive the story forward, but I just thought it was kind of amusing. Like, why would you pick up the sign like that? But anyway, so we see the weird scene with the woman owner, and I've touched upon it a little bit in the commentary, but Buddy seemingly just leers at her. It's very weird how he's just looking over at her, and it's weird how she doesn't even realize there's someone in the shop. I'm sure someone could have just come in and stolen a few books and she wouldn't even know, but anyway. And she seems nice. She's yelling, "Take off your hat!" And I would assume, based on her attitude, that's why she's looking for a new worker for her bookstore, because, yeah, again, she seems quite nice to work for. And then we see for a brief moment that Buddy's like, yep, I'm the boy for you, and even shows off his muscles in that very brief moment. I'm not going to comment on how she seems to hire him straight after he shows his muscles. I'll let you guys decide. So she goes, okay, get busy. Now, I get that this is a different time, and these days applying for a job feels like you're running a marathon. And I've been there, believe me. But what is this job? There's no training. There's not even an explanation. It's not like, okay, your job is look after the bookstore. It's like, okay, get busy. Busy doing what? Where am I supplied? I don't know. I'm overthinking it. It's a Buddy shop, for crying out loud. I thought it was weird. And we get a lot of what I call fluff. Just a lot of busy work of Buddy just dusting around. The animation's nice, to be sure, but this doesn't really drive the story forward or anything. It's just, I guess, killing time. In fact, this short comes across as they had this basic idea for Buddy of the Legion where he would join the Foreign Legion, but they didn't have enough materials, so they just made this framing device, and they still came up short. It's just a theory. I could be totally wrong. And yeah, he even cleans a fish, so you know they're scraping at the bottom of the barrel, or in this case, the bottom of the fish bowl, to try and get some humor out of it, but anyway. And then the lady finally gives him instructions to put those books away, and he's really adept at that. Why would you carry all those books at once? Just do it bit by bit, but anyway. I guess it's an excuse to have some funny business in regards to the animation of the books toppling over and all that. But I wonder if Chuck Jones animated the bit with the fly on Buddy's nose, because Chuck Jones was heavily inspired by what Disney was doing, and it's all about the expressiveness of the character. Without proper documentation, we can only speculate, but it's possible he might have done that, but I can't guarantee that that's the truth. So just over 2 minutes in, and we finally see something referencing the Foreign Legion. So we see the book. And remember, by the way, what room Buddy is in when he actually looks at the book. Okay, definitely pay attention to that. And we see the term Amazons for the women as a decoy. And it's kind of interesting because I looked it up and I thought Amazons were just a name for the Amazon rainforest and the people living there in South America. But I looked it up and there was the Dahomey Amazons, which were from the Kingdom of Dahomey, which is now known as Benin in West Africa. And they were the only all-female army in modern history. Now, I honestly don't know how it relates to the French Foreign Legion. Were there stories, maybe a film that came out that involved the Amazon women attacking a French Foreign Legion fort? I'm not familiar with all the material based on this topic, so if you do know, definitely let me know in the comments. But that was interesting, actually. You should definitely look up the Dahomey Amazons. That's definitely it was an interesting rabbit hole when I was researching this short. But as we look at the pages, my goodness, look at what's written down. Some of it's just scribbles, absolute gibberish, and some of it just comes across as like a rambling of a madman. Whoever wrote this must really hate working on Buddy cartoons. It just sounds like a lunatic wrote it. It's truly bizarre, but anyway. So Buddy is now imagining that he's in the Foreign Legion, and maybe this is why he was unemployed. He was probably daydreaming too much, but anyway. Here we get some nice animation, and they're singing away the song Arabia, along with the funny gag of one of the soldiers getting a hat in his mouth, and there's some other funny business with the guy riding a camel. Some of this seems to be what Bob Clampett would do, so maybe he had a hand in this part, I don't know. But again, just because two animators were credited doesn't mean that there weren't other animators that would have done some work on this short as well. I'm just going by those two animators who were credited. So we finally begin the main part of our story, which is not really much to it. So the Amazons are taking over this fort and looking on at what the men have to endure, especially the guy getting whipped. I'd say some men might actually enjoy this kind of treatment. I'll say no more about that. And yeah, we see gags where it's like, okay, men doing the laundry is hilarious, ha, because it's all women's work, right? Because was pretty much the thought when this cartoon was made, of course. I do have to wonder how long that man was walking for on that treadmill. It's kind of funny, but yeah. So we see that maybe they don't have enough slaves, so one of the women, I think this is the leader, I'm assuming it's the leader anyway, and she would say, ooh la la, and I don't know if she's going ooh la la over Buddy or any of the other men, but if it's over Buddy, she might be the only woman to go gaga over Buddy, even more so than Cookie. Of course, you can't have a Ben Hardaway short without some sort of a black stereotype. We see one here, and this is what's probably going to prevent it from being restored, but I know it's minor, I know, and it doesn't have a major detrimental effect to the short or anything, but it's like, come on, Mr. Hardaway, what are you doing? So what exactly is the plan here? Is this woman originally a doll or something? Is she a living person that just stays in this tomb and that's it? She just comes out only when needed? I mean, how does she eat, sleep? I don't know, I'm overthinking it. Again, this is a Buddy short, and what am I doing overthinking this? But why does this Amazon all of a sudden have powers to make this magic carpet go? Because this is the only time you actually see her have some sort of powers. The other time she's just strong and that's it. Which that would make sense because she's an Amazon. Strong woman, right? But why does she have some sort of magic powers? They really didn't think this one through, but anyway. Then we see some nice animation of the head turning and some interesting bits on the camel's head going inside and out. And I think a lot of this is probably Clampett's doing, or at least his influence on that part. The camel ends up saying, don't ever do that. And that's a line that's a take on the comedian Joe Penner. And it's the first time in a Warner Brothers short that we see a reference to Joe Penner. And Joe Penner would end up becoming a big influence on the Looney Tunes. Not just in them actually saying, don't ever do that, but also on Egghead. Yeah, this is the first time you actually see that reference. Then we see some nice expressive animation. I think that's Chuck Jones there. I think any time you see proper, like, really expressive animation, you gotta assume that it's either Chuck or he had a hand in it. So what exactly is the plan here? So the plan is for this, what would be considered to be a quote-unquote ugly woman to send a quote-unquote beautiful woman out to get more men. I mean, I gotta hand it to her. She did succeed. It's kind of like the Pied Piper, as I mentioned in the commentary. And then we get a nice rule of three, so two guys are hit, but the rule of three, you wouldn't hit a man with glasses on. I've already touched upon that. But what I didn't touch upon is, if you wanted to see a camel being punched out, here you go. You get to see it here. Now, I'm positive this would be a Clampett thing because the animation of the camel trying to do boxing, that is probably the animation highlight of this short. And if I was a betting man, I'd say that was Clampett. But again, without documentation, we'll probably never know. And Buddy's seeing, oh, those poor men who need to be saved from doing the washing. Heaven forbid. But anyway, we see a whole bunch of funny business of him trying to save these men. And the camel we see on the treadmill saying, I'm so tired in this way. That's attributed to Greta Garbo, who said a very similar line in one of her films. And one thing I didn't touch upon is we get a big woman butt joke. Of course we gotta have a big woman butt joke, right? But if you look at what's happening to her butt, man, that would hurt. Just piercing right through. I don't want to think about it again. Buddy short. I know. Then Buddy makes some weird device, knocks the women out, and in a case of we don't know how to end a cartoon, that's why we made a framing device. Turns out it's all a dream, Buddy gets fired, and the lesson here, kids, is don't daydream at work. But remember what I said about Buddy daydreaming in one room? So why did he wake up from the other room? Did he wander over with the book? I don't know. And Buddy is very accepting of the fact that he's stuffed up. He just goes, okie dokie. He just walks away. The end. Well, this is another masterpiece from Ben Hardaway, I can tell you that. As you guys already know, I'm not a fan of his work that much. His best stuff was the stuff he did in the late 30s, I think, when he was teamed up with Cal Dalton. But even then, the stuff can be very hit or miss. This one gets 4 out of 10. This one's just not very good. It's got some nice bits of animation, to be sure. And when you see the title card, you just wish you were watching a Bob Clampett or Chuck Jones short. But anyway, at least this one's done. Not a strong start to 1935, but I bet you we'll be ending on a strong note once Tex Avery comes along. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.